Role of information security in governance. We want to perform a risk assessment, know what our assets are, know what threats exist to those assets. Maybe the threat agent as well. Threat agent's not as likely to appear on this exam, but the threat is. What vulnerabilities we have, whether or not that threat can exploit the vulnerability. If the threat can't exploit the vulnerability, there really is no risk. If it can, what is the likelihood of it doing so? And when it does, how bad will it be? What will the impact be? That's our risk. The risk is the threat times the vulnerability times the impact. We want to determine an acceptable level of risk. We might be willing to risk $10,000 worth of damage if it only happens once every million years. Okay, what's that? 10 cents a year? We'll eat that on average. That's not worth dealing with. But $100 every day, that's probably a loss that we're not willing to deal with, because within a year that's $36,000 that might have been easily averted. So we take a look at our annualized loss expectancy. How much we lose in a single occurrence multiplied by how often it happens in a year. And that gives us our ALE, annual loss expectancy. If it's low, it's probably low priority. And if it's really low, we may not even look at mitigating it. You know, meteor strike hitting your building. I'm sure we've all got laser turrets on top just in case that happens. I forgot to install one on my house. I'm going to get to it next week. But I think the swimming pool comes first. You know, I have to have some place for the space lab to crash into. It likes water. But we had to bring it down to an acceptable level, determine that level, bring it down to that level, and maintain that level over time. We have to integrate our processes, procedures, and controls together. Our controls are the safeguards or countermeasures to reduce our risk. A safeguard limits the amount of damage when an event happens. You have a car accident. The safeguard is, I got that backwards. Safeguard keeps it from happening. Safeguard is good brakes. You slam on your brakes, you stop before you hit the car in front of you. Safeguards reduce the likelihood of it occurring, and a countermeasure reduces the impact when it does occur. Your airbags are a countermeasure. Your brakes are a safeguard. And sometimes they kind of play a little bit into each other. Your brakes will reduce the impact when you have an accident by slowing you down, but their primary purpose is to avoid the accident in the first place. So safeguard, keep the accident from happening or the exploit from happening. Countermeasure, reduce the damage when it does happen. Both of them go to reducing our ALE, annual loss expectancy. And we want to plan training programs. If people know the right thing to do, they'll generally do it. People who don't know do the wrong thing. They make mistakes. They make it impossible for us to be able to prosecute the bad guy, gather data that could be used to later defend our systems. They may even inadvertently remove the evidence and our ability to see what happened, leaving us at risk for the future. People doing the right thing is one of our greatest benefits, and training people and making plans, that incident response plan, so you know what to do when it happens, the disaster recovery plan, so people know what to do when a disaster happens. These plans keep us safe and maintain safety in the long term.